Item number 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from councillors Arlett, Gabishak and Rains.
Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Public participation. To receive questions and comments from members of the public on any matter affecting the town. And I guess several people would like to talk about the grants applications. So if you want to speak or say anything at all about anything, put your hand up and I'll happy to speak.
Do you think you could speak up a little? I am profoundly deaf. I've got hearing aids, and I can see your mouth is moving.
Okay, I'll try and be slow and clear. Okay, so if you'd like to speak, put your hand up, give your name and what you're speaking about, and then you'll get your 2 or 3 minutes to ask. And we may in these circumstances sometimes councillors ask questions, so we're prepared for that. So who would like to speak? There's a gentleman at the back there.
Thank you. I'm Andy Trotman, and I'm come to represent the Illuminated Boat Parade. Chris Taylor, who is the inspiration behind it, has to be abroad today, so he's asked me if I'd attend. My job was merely as a volunteer to help put up some of the illuminations and be the chairman of the judges, who included a lot of local people. I distinguished the mayor, Danny Harrison, and many others. So I'd just like to say I'm proud to do it because I think Chris has done a great job with a completely spontaneous ground roots, sort of built it all without on himself, and he financed the whole thing completely, and he spent a lot of money on it. It's made a small contribution to 2 local charities, and I'm very proud of what it's done. And you all know about the huge attendance. Something like 2,500 people attended. 40 boats were involved. On the same night, there was a similar sort of parade in London, and that attracted 150 boats. So I think we punched above our weight there. So if you have any queries and questions for me, I'm delighted to answer.
Yes, thank you for that. I think a lot of us welcomed and I think a lot of the town enjoyed the one last year, which was the first one, and you're hoping to repeat this year. And so yes, has any councillors got any specific questions?
I see the application is for a PA system. Have you looked to any of the local organisations who currently have PA systems to see if they would lend you one at each time? So I know that, say, Women's Regatta, Henry Regatta, and Upper Thames, they quite often share resources for various events that they have. I don't know if the town hall has a PA system. I'm sure numerous organisations locally do, such as Hugh from the Kensington Theatre, etc. And I'm sure potentially that the expense of buying one might be able to be, a piece of equipment like that, unless it's used regularly, is out of date within months of being bought. So an organisation that already has one might be able to lend it to you for such a short period. It might be far better use of money.
Well, I think it's a really good question, a good point. I would add that it's not the only thing that we need to spend money on. There's lots of other things, lighting and other equipment as well as sound. But the shortage or the lack of a good sound system seems to be a problem with almost all of these one-off outside events.
Yeah.
I chair a charity event for Mulberry Cancer Support, which happens in Westminster Palace Gardens every year, and we've had a lot of trouble getting an adequate PA system. So I think that your point is well made. I think one should certainly go to these people straight away. We will do that. It's a very good point. But there are lots of other things which we need to spend some money on. Things that can be used again and again. And I love the idea of sharing. Perhaps there should be set up some sort of charity sharing of such things. So thanks for that.
I only brought that up because it's the one thing we've written down for the month. We haven't written anything else.
Right.
But thank you.
Can I ask one specific question as well? We like organisations as part of the application to submit their accounts.
Yeah.
Now I know you're a fairly new organisation, but your application didn't include that in the official accounts, as far as I can see. Do you have such a claim?
I do, yes, I do.
Yeah, so okay.
Right.
Have you got more than one copy?
No,
Right, okay.
I give you the headline, but
Okay.
broadly,
If you could just give us the headlines. briefly.
Revenue minus costs, that's all, yeah.
okay, the total costs were £10,124. 17 pence. The donations to charities were £1,000 to Henley Royal Regatta Charitable Trust and £1,000 to the Rivertime Trust. So the total cost of the organisers were £11,856.64. And it's all very clearly, I can leave a copy of this with you now and I
That'd
can
be
have it
helpful,
all
thank
done
you.
tomorrow. So they are very, very clearly done in minute detail. actually.
Yeah, okay. You were hiding a light under the bushel a bit there.
Yeah, sorry about
Didn't
that.
help your application.
It's only after took us over fairly late.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm all for doing accounts.
Yeah, well, we are a finance committee, so. Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? I think we've, right, okay, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak?
I'll just, sorry, I'll speak on.
Just a moment, I'll come back to you in a second. Yes, Andy?
I just wanted, yeah, I mean, I'm pleased to see the application for the Illuminated Boat Parade, because I think it is a fantastic new venture. And we as a council are very,
Yeah,
very
we'll
good
come
at-
on to discussing it in a moment.
Oh, we're
okay?
going to do discussion afterwards.
Yeah, this is public questions.
Okay, fine.
Okay, okay, lay it back, please.
No, I'm Gemma Birch, I set up Mother Sister Daughter, and we help very local, we're set up currently as a not-for-profit, and I applied for 2 separate grants, one for free use and one for your smaller denomination grant, and so I'm just here to make sure if there's any questions further to the application that I can answer them and leave my pace.
Yeah, we did have a few questions, and I'm glad you're here to answer them. I mean, I'm sure many people, pretty well everyone, is going to support the aims of what you're doing, which is to help unfortunate victims of the terrible war in Ukraine. And the one thing we'd like, do you have a specific use for the money that you want to put it towards, or is it just generally helping? You know, and I'll help you to understand by saying the more specific it is that you can say that you're spending the money on, the better, the stronger your case.
Yeah,
that you make.
Well, basically, last year, we were able to help by getting stuff, which is essentially what a lot of them needed. And because it's such a fabulous community, every time we put our hands up and ask for something, you know, lots of people came forward. This year, we're still managing stuff, but it's more things like trying to help with the trauma, and there's absolutely no trauma counselling available whatsoever. So we're trying to do it through things like well-being, art classes, trying to put on a programme of different events to keep some of these ladies active and their minds busy and give them other things to do. So that is an ongoing thing. We meet every Wednesday. We're currently at Trinity Hall in Hertfordshire, but we will, because of what's going on at Trinity Hall, we will have to come out of there. And we've been very lucky that that's been given to us free. So part of the free use application is to continue our coffee mornings. It was explained to me that that has a cap within a year. So we will obviously use that cap and then need to find somewhere else. I am looking for alternatives, but there will be a cost to that. The importance of those weekly meetings they're invaluable, whether 3 people turn up or 30 people turn up. You know, sometimes they're in tears, sometimes they're laughing. So that's not, you know, that's a regular thing. It's not a finite thing, but it's a regular thing that we need funds to support. I'm also trying to organise a summer event for them, which would hopefully be a trip to the beach, because none of these children have had anything like that. And also it's about making new memories and having positive experiences for them. And at the cost of coach travel, it's extortionate. So that would be a very costly event basically to set up. And then we're also trying to organise and trying to set up a buddy scheme to continue. A lot of them are working now, which is amazing. A lot of the local businesses have been incredibly supportive in in employing our local Ukrainian residents. But they're having English lessons, but typically some of the older generation, where English isn't very strong, they're still looking for jobs. Some of them are carers, they're here in caring capacities for their older generations again. So it's also making sure that we're there and supporting them. So I'm sorry, I know it's difficult. I can't give you one finite thing other than a big event in the summer.
You've given us a flavour of.
Okay.
what you do. Can I just ask one further question?
Yes.
You know that your annual income is 4,700 and your expenditure is 1,000. Are those sort of snapshot figures? Or can you give us a bit
I've
more
never
detail on that?
done anything like this before, and
Yeah.
basically we
Okay.
fundraise, we've been given some lovely donations by local organisations. I'm trying to get us to a charity status this year, and I think part of that I have to have £5,000 transition through the bank account, so I'm also trying desperately to fundraise so that I can get that, so that also potentially we can open to a broader audience. And possibly look at, I set up the name Mother, Sister, Daughter, which is far more generic than just Ukrainian refugees, that's how it started. And it might be that given the current climate, if we can get a charity status, we can look at even helping local people. And, we work very closely with Nomad, but it might be that in some way we can, support them equally.
Yeah.
So that's also another reason, basically.
I've got one last question. About how many people are you helping?
It depends, I think.
Approximately,
There
is
are-
it 10, 50?
No, I mean, I would say there's probably, like I say, some weeks I can have 3 women turn up, some weeks I can have 30 women.
Right.
Beyond that, there's obviously children at school, there's still people. Last week I had 2 ladies turn up that have been here for 6 months and didn't even know that we were there. And, so although new people coming in have slowed down, we are gathering people from a broader kind of the villages around.
Right.
and finding more people. So I would say 30 to 40 people at a maximum.
Yeah, that's a significant number. Thank you. Sorry to ask so many questions.
And sorry, just to add on that, we also support hosts, and obviously there are local Henley residents that have gone above and beyond, and some of them even now have been hosting for nearly a year. And
Yeah.
so a lot of part of what we do is offer a support network for them as well, to take pressure off and help manage.
Yeah, it's a strange
that
thing to do,
situation
you
there.
imagine. That's very helpful. Thank you. Anyone got any more questions? No, that's the one. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay,
Bishop, I would,
Did you-
being so deaf, I have a problem with that. I would prefer you to ask me questions that I can answer, rather than me try and spout and not being able to hear. them.
which charity are you?
We're Henry Drama Festival.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think the mayor had some questions about, so. Let me just find where you are. Last week,
I remember what they are, if you'd like me to ask them.
do you want to ask? I've asked
I
enough
have
questions.
2 questions for you. The first question is, where is the drama festival held? Clinton Theatre. And how many people does it help?
14 societies in the week. It's a drama festival, it's a competition, it's 3 plays per night for local groups, schools, organisations compete for cups and what have you, but it's been at the Kenton Theatre for 52 years.
Yeah, I think I've been.
Yes, I know. As I say, it was our golden last year. And I have been there since day one, first play, first week. I've been there for its whole life. My parents started it originally for the town. And I took over, I don't know how many years ago now. I forget what happened in the past. And we've got to the stage now where the Kenton has got so many people they are paying to run it. Their fees, you would not believe, last year we paid £2,300. This year, the bill will be 6,000. They have kindly said we can have a 50% discount, which brings it down to 3. But they're going to add VAT, so that puts another, what, £600-700 on the bill. Now, last year, our bill was 2,300. I think you've got all the funds there. And we are self-funding. The only money we get in is bonds on seats and the fees that the competing groups pay, which is all of £25 to perform. That's it. And we've been, as I say, at the Kenton from it used to be called the Kenton Drama Festival, but because they wanted various things, we changed it to the Henley Drama Festival. And they are pricing, not only me, and I'm only talking for Henley Drama Festival, but they're pricing all local groups, schools and everything out of existence, because who the hell can afford £6,000 a week for the 4th oldest working theatre in England, which is what it is, a real theatre. It's not a village hall, a school hall, and I'm not deriding those or any of those things. People can come, the local community and groups can come to a real bona fide theatre. But we didn't know about the increase until a month ago. And we're year on year, the same week, every year. So we're now got to the stage, we've got almost sufficient funds with the cost of the adjudicator. I think we just about might scrape through if some of us put our hands in our pockets, but future, without help, we won't exist, which is, in my opinion, a tragedy, because Chaos, Henley Players, Woodley, Stage Works, all the schools that perform there, they haven't that kind of money. And all I'm told is the way of the world, where when I worked in the Kenton, it was all done by volunteers. I think there were 2 people paid. One was the cleaner. I think possibly the accountant. But now every Tom, Dick and Harry gets paid. Unrealistic.
Okay, thank you. That was a very clear answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't wish to be on the soapbox.
No, we.
Not me, ask you.
No, that worked very well. Thank you. Then we've got any other questions? Okay, right. Thank you. Oh, River Ramsey, yes, you're, this is part of public question time, isn't it? You want to now do a short presentation, don't you?
Yes, or I
Yes.
can just talk it through if that's easier, because I know
There's a slight technical issue.
Is it easier if I just talk it through? Yeah.
It's up to you. Okay.
No, it's fine. I'm Helen Coffin from River Rose Museum. I'm one of the trustees, and I've been a trustee there for about 6 years, and I'm with Paul, who's currently helping in sort of transformational project we've got on, where we're changing an awful lot of things. And what we're here today to ask for is our current lease doesn't allow us to let out any of the space within the museum. Despite that historically somehow it's got through the net that we did let to Henley Festival. But we've realised the error of our ways. So we've proposed a deed variation that will allow us to let up to a maximum of 30% of the footprint of the museum, which in essence is building 2. So if you drive up to the museum, the building on your right hand side, and that's just under 30% of the total footprint of the museum. And the reason that we really want to do that, and it's perhaps been a regular occurrence over the last couple of years, is that the museum has historically lost £250,000 a year for every year of its existence. We're currently looking at a loss of about £500,000 a year as we go through the transformational project. And the endowment that we have cannot continue to cover those kind of losses and ensure that we've got sufficient funds to maintain the building into the future. So we've got to do something about generating an income in a different way. And the way that we propose to do that is to rent out building 2 as little studio offices that will drive an income that will directly go into operating the museum. And I think most importantly, maintain the provision of the education that we provided to both local schools and to youth groups, art groups, reading groups, Wind in the Willows and what have you. So we will absolutely maintain interactive education spaces within building 1 and continue to operate educational visits on the Tuesday and Wednesday when school children will have exclusive use of the museum. At the moment, we've only converted the ground floor and the second floor. The 30% deed of variation does leave us scope to convert the second floor if that income is required for us to get to a profit position. And it's really important that we spent a lot of our endowment on repairing the roof and the various other sort of mechanical engineering challenges that we've got, that we actually have a museum which has got an endowment that can ensure it's maintained and an income that ensures we can operate it. And so, any questions?
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. Will the museum though still be the main focus rather than the letting? Because otherwise, why would it be called a museum still? Shouldn't you be looking at widening the exhibits really, perhaps going beyond the remit of river and rowing and concentrating more on the museum itself? And to help, yes, let rooms perhaps, but I'm worried about the focus of the museum itself being lost.
The provision will allow the majority of the building to still be operated as a museum. I think we absolutely have to look at enhancing not only the river and rowing, but also the fact that we're based in Henley and everything that Henley has to offer. So we're maintaining the curtain gallery that's used for special exhibits and permanent exhibits, currently refreshing a lot of the exhibits so that it will be a modern look for when people are visiting the museum when it reopens. So there's no detraction from taking away from the museum and the credentials it has, but we have to be realistic. The museum has lost £250,000 a year. To maintain a museum and a building, we must drive revenue. And it's a question of we cannot get enough people through the doors to kind of look at a museum that will maintain the bills of putting the lights on, essentially, never mind the people that curate the exhibitions.
No, I think it makes complete sense. It's a common sense strategy to do it. Brief conversations with Paul, I think, is a panel between ourselves and Relay and Leander. And I think the whole panel can work better to drive business to one another as venues and exhibits and bits like that that are going on. New town centre manager, I think, could be here along with Daisy and that. But I think this is very practical. We should try and stem some of that loss each year. Otherwise, you're so right to lose an asset like that that goes into dilapidation and then the cost of restoration would be astronomical. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. If in the future the exhibits become busy enough that you need to reclaim that space, then wonderful. But I think in the meantime, it's a great use.
Yeah. I think on that note, there is provision that there's a maximum of a 5-year lease for anyone taking the office space. There is a provision that if a particular tenant wanted something longer, then we would need to revert back to the town council to gain permission for that. So there is an allowance to make sure that we don't let something out for 20 years, which would take that option away.
Yeah, I'm totally supportive of this because I think 3 of us saw the presentation that David Worthington gave a couple of weeks back, as it were, and the vision for the museum is absolutely spot on. Yes, you've got significant costs that you're getting through, but you're doing the absolutely right thing by working with the council, coming to us, telling us what the problems are, and putting your roof in good order so you won't have red zones and all the rest. You're effectively asking for a variation on the lease, which I'm totally supportive of. I just think when we get to it, we perhaps should look at some kind of priority the Henley businesses first, so that those businesses that come to you. I'm delighted that the Henley Festival lived with you for a bit, and they benefited, and that was a great Henley business, and it's great, a business that's come from strength to strength, as it were. But it's something that perhaps we should include in the lease as some priority to Henley.
Okay, we'll discuss that when it comes to the item. Thank you for a very clear presentation, and I completely agree that you need to make sure that you have a robust financial model that's sustainable. In other words, it won't be a 70% museum, it'll be a 0% museum because you're just closed. And that would be a great loss, and this town, this council would very much regret that. We've been involved with you all the way along, supporting what you do. The only question that does come up quite regularly is what sort of prominence will the Henley Gallery continue to have? It is a Henley museum,
Yeah.
and that aspect is very popular, and it's sometimes been felt that it's not as prominent and not as varied as it could be. You know, that's more a sort of note for you to take into account rather than if you want to give an answer, that would be good.
Yeah, there are definitely discussions, particularly EVA, which is such an amazing exhibit that perhaps half the visitors to the museum sometimes don't see because of where it's currently sited. So discussions that actually we could make much more of that and move them and recite them so that Henley has equal prominence to the river and to rowing, and that people see those exhibits. So an opportunity, there is an opportunity there to look at moving those exhibits so they're more accessible to the local community.
Yeah, that would be very welcome. We welcome that. I think the town community would as a whole. So thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, let's move on. I think that's the end of public participation, unless I've overlooked someone. Okay, thank you everyone for coming along. What we'll do, I'll bring forward the grant applications, so we don't have to spend too long before we get to it. For those of you who want to see the decisions that we make. So what I'm going to suggest is that item 6C is the consideration of grants, and I suggest we do items 4 and 5 first, and then 6C. Is okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, the minutes to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of January. Second, Councillor Hamilton. Those in favour? Thank you. To note the notes, the 353-357 Reading Road Working Group held on the 17th of February. Councillor Plant. I'll second those. All in favour? Okay, thank you. Funds to receive the management accounts, bank reconciliations and summary of payments. Are there any comments on those? Queries? Okay, proposing that we receive them. I'll second that. All those in favour? All those in favour? Thank you. I couldn't find any fault in the graphs. Well done, Liz. And they are much clearer now. I do like the way you present those figures. Thank you. Item 6. Let's take 6C first, which is the grants applications, which are mostly in this separate appendix. The second 57-page appendix. So I suggest we do this in the usual way, which is that we go on a first pass, discussing our overall views, and then we do a second pass at which we actually vote and make decisions on the applications and award the money as asked for or not, as the case may be. So starting off with MenCap. Has anyone got any comments on that?
Very supportive.
That looks pretty straightforward. Yeah. That's a simple yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On the page a mother, sister, daughter grants. Page 14. We heard from Gemma earlier. Councillor Plant.
I think a incredibly meaningful cause. I know that even sat so Paul is obviously in the museum, Councillor Thomas with and myself, I have a business at Ringside Cafe and Nomad already used studio space in put through. So I think there's a few people sat in this room that could probably provide some free use of facilities for coffee and so I should drop you an email on that bit. I don't think we have the budget to meet the full amount, unfortunately, but certainly part of that would be wonderful, and then maybe we knock our heads together to see what we can do with other spaces.
Yes, it is worth reminding ourselves, which I should have done, trying to find the accountant's report on the
So 7.4 that's been applied for in the
on the figures.
Yeah.
which,
4,405, we have to give out.
we've got 4,405, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 3,000 short.
Oh, I haven't got that page.
Not including 3 weeks.
So yes, there are 7,470 worth of applications, so we've only budgeted for about just over half of that. Okay, so there's a fair amount of sympathy for that application. As I made clear in my questions, we very much prefer specific targets for the money, but I think the overall message was quite clear about the sort of thing that's going towards doing, in particular the event and so there are two parts to the application. Okay, so next, Green Henley, page 19. This,
We're not applied for grants from other places, so DC, for example.
I don't know whether they could or not. I think we've certainly met this application before. Just looking to see if, yes.
Yeah,
We
they
have-
normally give them this money for the cricket line, but it's insurance.
Yeah. I thought we did, but I couldn't see it on the details. Okay, right. Yeah, it seems to be a small amount of money and straightforward, something that they clearly need. Okay, so next is the Henley Cause Society.
It's a free use room. I think we've usually gone with the route of giving out all the free uses to begin with.
So this is a use of room at the weekend,
It's just
so it's
the
not
weekend.
actually a free use.
Yeah, it's not high.
It's a small grant, which is a bit confusing, but that's what the council policy is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it does cost us money, but
I know it costs us money, but it's such a small amount.
Yeah.
It costs free use.
We had 100% utilisation, but it cost.
well, that would make it cheaper, yes.
Yeah.
But it seems a pretty
Both.
reasonable application.
Yeah.
And the Henley Cause Society do great things for the town for all age groups.
Yeah.
Good to see them being so successful.
And
Henley Youth Festival.
So
um,
we need to support it.
25.
Although out of all the schools that are local, I think they use a small one. It is only £178, so I'm sure we can do it.
And it's this Saturday.
It is.
Yeah.
Fits in
Cutting it a bit fine.
Yes, so that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Illuminated boat parade. This is probably a fairly complicated one. Councillor Madam Mayor.
So I'd like to really speak up for this, this new event. I think it really was such a huge success. And it's one of those, it was one of those events that had such a good feel-good factor. You know, it was a real wow event. And I love the fact that they raised money for charity along the way. It was very well attended, beyond even the organisers' expectations, I think. I think they're asking for actually a very modest amount of money compared to what they're actually up against here with their costs. But I'd like to see it continue, and I'd like to see us support it. We don't support many events. You know, kind of like feel-good events, you know what I mean? It's well, what I mean by that is I know we do, you know, some of the sporting ones, but this is completely different. You know, we do lots of sport, we do lots of, you know, education, and we do choral, but we haven't ever done anything like this. And I think it should become, with our support, one of a calendar item, you know, a regular in the year.
Yeah, take it. I
Hopefully.
think Councillor Hilly was next.
Yeah, I think we have many feel-good events, actually. I'm thinking of Henley Town and Visitors Regatta, you know, that's something for the community. There's,
Sporting ones.
Let's not.
Let's-
Now, let's just.
yeah, but, well, anyway, but I'm very supportive of it, but I'm just wondering if they could look at other avenues, say of sponsorship from businesses and residents to help with the finances, because it's difficult for us at the moment to give these amounts of money. But it is something for the whole town, so it's definitely high up there on the list. But I just think if we can be a bit more creative and look at other ways that we can guide them to getting the funds needed.
Yes, Andrew.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm totally supportive of this one because you've got to remember there was lots of people out there last night, and it was about -5, if I remember rightly, and it was blowing a gale as well. So it wasn't, bright hot sunshine. Obviously, it has to happen at that time of the year so that it goes dark at the right time. I think we should be minded to support this probably with half of the money. I accept what Councillor Hillier says. You can collect some of this money from sponsorship, but we need to be into this right from the beginning. It's 1 year in. We used to sort of have a sort of unwritten rule that we would support organisations for the first 3 years, and then hopefully they get going on their own feet. And we're the catalyst that can help to get it going, and then other sponsors can come in. So I'd be minded to give them half of the money and see where we get to, given the current strap of current conditions, as it were. We're looking at giving organisations half rather than the full amount they're asking for. That's my view.
I pretty much agree with what the other councillors have said, but it might be nice to say sponsor the medals and trophies provided by Henley Town Council, and then we can potentially look to help with finding someone that can then do a PA system, the lighting and etc. But happily stay involved with any of the infrastructure so that we've got lots of contacts around town, various institutions that we were working. But certainly we can look at sponsoring the trophies and medals because that's a nice touch to do.
It was certainly a very popular and widely spoken about event last year, and it was slightly different out of the usual from the sort of thing that the town's perhaps better known for. And it was clearly well run, and it was successful, and I could certainly see it becoming, as the mayor observed, a regular feature of the Henley calendar. I do have a couple of concerns. One of which is that it does appear to be well run and successful financially. It did support itself. I mean, Councillor Hamilton's right that very often when events like this start up, they need money to begin with. They have like literary festival as a case in point. We provided money for that for the first few years. And once it got going, we stepped back and just simply allowed the buildings to be used. In your case, the river isn't ours to give, so we can't do that. The other concern I have is the fact that there are charitable donations, which indicates again the financial viability of the event. But I'm reluctant to give money to organisations which then in turn donate to charity, because what we're effectively doing is delegating to an organisation charitable donations from our grants budget, and I've always been uncomfortable about that. I don't think it's entirely right, and I feel slightly unkind about this because it's a great project. It's clearly been successful. It does add to the town, be very popular, but I think it's already got enough success, and so I don't think it's the best use of the town council funds. But with any help that we can give and support that we can and encouragement, yes, I'm very happy that we do that in any other way. Madam Mayor, you disagree with me now?
But it was self-funded. That's why it was a success.
Yes.
But how long can that continue? Is my point. So when you say it's a success, I don't quite understand.
Well, it took place last year without. I was going to have a look and see where the 10,000 came from.
Private donations.
So it's private donation, and that's a good thing. And that's community buy-in.
I'm from buckets. Yeah, I'm from bucket collections.
Yeah. And for organisations to raise money in that way embeds them in the community, and with obtaining sponsorship means that people are engaged, and I quite like that idea. And the purpose of these grants is to help organisations which might otherwise struggle to be financially viable. So I do have mixed feelings about this because I do very much support and like the idea of the events. Anyway, has anyone got any more to say? We're not deciding on the amount at this point. Okay, so lastly, the mother, sister, daughter. I think we've already implicitly considered that, but as part of the this is the free use grants, which I think is.
You missed the drama festival.
It's on page
Ah.
54, but it's
Right,
not on the-
it's also on my list. Okay, drama festival.
No brainer. Yeah,
Mm,
100%.
yeah.
We'll give you it all for 1,000.
Initially, I was initially. I was little. I was looking at this earlier, and it did seem that it was a financially viable event. But I think you gave a very clear answer that the financial model is being stretched by the increased cost of hiring the Kenton Theatre. And yeah, I know that's the case, and other organisations have come to us with that problem as well. And so yeah, I do understand why you need the money, and therefore I think it's a good application. And certainly, I think I'm pretty certain I've been into it and enjoyed the events in the past. So thank you for doing that,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, and then.
I just wanted to share a little story with you, if I may, and that was when I invited myself to go and see the Henley College's production of Evita. It was absolutely fantastic, and to see those young adults thrive in that environment that they were in was a true inspiration to everyone in the audience. The orchestra, the music was provided by the college students. All of the support was handled technically by the students, and all of the students up there on the stage singing their hearts out, acting their hearts out with such confidence. It was so inspiring. I enjoyed it tremendously. Anything like this that supports young people, anti-dramatics, anything like that, I'm all for it. It was absolutely fabulous.
Two of the technicians we have came from Henley College. They were doing whatever course at the college, and we asked, was anybody interested in learning the technicals of a theatre? And we had two young men came. One we've kept for 4 years now. He sort of keeps phoning me saying, we are still doing it, aren't we? We are still doing it. And he now works for his living. I mean, he lives up in Middlesex somewhere and comes specially. Parents have come to us who've seen their little darlings on the stage. Let's be honest, we're not all great darlings. How much their children have gained in confidence from actually physically going from the wings onto the stage and suddenly seeing mum and dad there and all these people, and they come off different people. They're gaining confidence, and that's what we're losing. So I am so grateful.
We're very fortunate. Sorry, you want to?
Oh, I just wanted to add that it would help if we could sell more tickets. And so publicity would be a really useful. I mean, a lot of people don't seem to know about the festival at all. It happens at the beginning of May, and it's always the same.
Well, there's some people in Henley don't even know the Kensington's
Any help about getting publicity?
Okay, yeah.
It's like a banner on the street, you know.
We put it on our plans on the side of town hall.
Okay, let's move on. I mean, we're very fortunate in Henley to have the Kenton, but it does require organisations such as yours to come along and make use of it and allow the young people, or people of any age, to come along and enjoy being in the theatre. It does add a lot to the life of the town, and so we are fortunate. And that's one of the reasons I think we're likely to view this application favourably. Councillor Hillier.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly add, we've got a fantastic May Fair that's coming up. And I think at the May Fair, there's a probably chance to have a stall there and let people know about it, because it's a real family event. What date is that? May Day.
May the first, yeah.
May first.
No.
Right.
Mayfair, we're probably rehearsing.
Yeah, but we can publicise it, you see, yeah, we can publicise it. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back and do a rerun and actually make a decision on the awards that we want to make. So, starting off with Menka, I think, Councillor Punch.
Entirety.
Yeah, so I'm happy to go for that. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Mother, sister, daughter, there's an application for a grant of £2,500. What would you like to, see some hands going up? Councillor Hamilton?
Half, 1,250.
You can accept that?
It seems brutal, but we'll help in other ways, so.
Anyone else want to speak or all those in favour of that proposal? Okay. Green Henley,
This is for 382.
I think everyone's, this is for the full 382.
Yeah.
For the short time, but all those in favour, just make sure we get a clear vote, thank you. Henley Choral Society, free use, again, 160, so everybody seems to be happy with that. Henley Youth Festival, free use, 128, is everyone happy with that? Yes. Illuminated Boat Parade, this one might take a little bit more discussion. I have a proposal there.
I'll propose half for the medals and the trophies and look to work with them on the PA system. But if they struggle with the PA system, then please come back to us again. But in the initial bit, let's do half for the half.
Well, I think any proposal we could ask for some feedback on where it might specifically be used.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
give guidance. I don't think we could attach limitations.
Trophies and medals, we want huge.
I have concerns about this, not the event itself, far from it. So I would, my proposal would be to not offer anything, but to offer to stand by and listen if help were required, if financial, if the donations and the sponsorship weren't to arise. But I feel I'm probably on my own.
You're welcome to.
I do have concerns about the charitable donations. Not that the charities are a problem. I just think it's a principle about public money. And how we ensure it goes to it's probably scrutinised.
I'll propose one half, 50%,
1,200.
Yeah.
Yes, but secondly that. Right, all's in favour of that proposal. Okay.
I was just going to add some sympathy because I support that view actually,
Yes, but it is a good project.
but it is very good
so,
for the
yeah.
town. Yeah.
Henley Drama Festival, that's £1,000 has been applied for. Liz, are you keeping count?
Yeah, we're up to 3,970.
Right, okay, so we've got about 500 left.
Yeah, we'll be 4,970 then.
Okay, so do you have a proposal?
Entirety.
The entire.
The entirety, okay, right.
Support them.
And we should all buy a ticket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you invite them there?
Hey, you buy one.
Yes, of course.
You have to buy her ticket.
But you will have to buy the ticket.
no freebies.
Usually it's the new mayor coming in and the old one going. I'm not
So you go to the last event.
And pay for that ticket.
special because of the coronation.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have to declare an interest now, Michelle. You can,
Listen to the 15th of May.
Yeah.
So you're okay.
Oh, last night.
Perhaps you could sell the seat next door to the mayor as well.
okay, so we have a proposal, I think for the full amount. Yeah, I might well go.
We called you all to come and attend and actually see how it works.
Okay, right, all's in favour of the full amount? Thank you. So we've gone slightly over. We've gone 565 over budget,
So
which we're allowed to
we'll
do
cancel.
because we have delegated powers to do that. And so those awards, just to be clear, are done under delegated powers, and therefore that decision has now been made. And so you can approach the town council for the. Oh, yeah, yes, that's right. One last one is mother, daughter, sister, the free use of 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems a pretty straightforward one to me. All's in favour of that? Thank you. Right, Thank you very much, everyone. It is very nice. Thank you for coming along and thank you for making the application. And thank you very much for what you do for the town. It's always one of the more enjoyable parts of finance is that we can actually see directly the benefits that are going to the community and the people who do such good work in the town to keep Henley fun and lively. Yeah. Well, here's to the next 52 years.
No, don't come back every year.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good stuff, sir.
I'll see you on the 6th then.
Yeah.
Not sure I can make 6, but the other side,
7.
yeah.
Whatever you like.
One time, then I'll be there.
Properties that I could.
Thank you very much. I think that
What's it called now?
An invite to the coronation. That'd be fun.
This is the coronation. Okay. Right, let's move on. 6A we need to do now. Picture consultant and contractor. This is money that's been set aside in the budgets for some time now to improve the grass pictures. Clark, Kath, would you like to say anything about this?
Yes, so this was funds that were agreed back in July 2018, part of the project to put a 3G pitch over on Jubilee Park, and also just to make the most of the grounds that we've got at Jubilee Park, basically. We're under some time constraint on this because if the Football Foundation agree our grant bid, then that would be agreed in January next year, and then they would start installing the 3G pitch in February. And in the meantime, AFC need to be able to play on as much grass area as they possibly can. I mean, there is the fact that also AFC Henley haven't really got enough space as it is. So there are areas at the side, on the Reading Road side, where we could look to level out the ground and get some more pitch space there. Also on the southern area, which is a sort of separate field really, there's an area where there's concrete under the ground, and it would be good to get that up and be able to lay pitch properly, and also some areas of rough ground, but the bits between the two sets of pitches. So I would like to be able to go out to get a pitch consultant to advise on this, and agronomist. I've got some recommendations from the Football Foundation, and then subsequently to appoint a contractor to carry out the works, so that we can do it this summer. That was the idea.
Yes, sir, plans.
I think needs to be done. Essential work to be brilliant. It'd be too much for the class to go on polo pitches next door with their very level of flat. Mark Beckinsale, he's a local chap. He does a lot of the pitches for many of the local schools, and he used to do all the ground contracting for the Natal, I believe, as well. So he's a good contractor to look to, but otherwise I think it's a straightforward yes on our behalf.
Okay, Jess Hamilton.
It's definitely needs to be doing. Are we considering what we do with the harp? And whether it should be piped at some point, at any point within that pitch?
I would like to get the pitch consultant to look at that.
Is that we are going to look at that, because that's obviously a big health and safety issue. I'm totally up for this. I just wondered whether we should perhaps take 30k from SIL and 30k from CapEx, because I think it's infrastructure, an improvement to infrastructure, and therefore there's no reason why SIL 50% SIL and 50% CapEx.
I was assuming it was also.
No,
It
No.
actually didn't
It's
change.
budgeted.
No, it's budgeted amount, it's in
It's
CapEx.
budgeted amount. It's under income and expenditure in the accounts. So it is. It's
we get
listed-
30 back, that's a win for the budget. Imagine that.
it's listed on page 16 of the accounts under income and expenditure projects.
Sorry, I just think we should do the SIL money first, given it's.
Okay,
Given it's-
it's not in the income expenditure account,
CapEx.
it's an income type project, it's still in reserves, which is.
So the
balance
reserves,
sheet.
no?
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
still
an
an
earmarked
earmarked reserve, it's still on the balance sheet, not the income expenditure account.
Okay.
Yeah. You got me worried then.
So does that mean we can take it from all from some. If we can take some of it from some, surely we can take it all from some.
I would say
think
take
it would meet,
50%.
it would meet the criteria for using SIL, and I believe, though I didn't check with the accountant before the meeting, that we have sufficient SIL to be able to do that.
So we've got 232,000.
Wouldn't take up more than half, otherwise Norwich
Okay,
would
no, no,
change
no,
precinct.
let's speak.
Yeah, so we've got 232,000 still, that's not already been sort of earmarked to a project. So it could be taken.
Says against which future expenditure could be
Yeah.
set, so
Yeah.
we said it can do that, which does seem a
Sensible.
sensible thing to do. We'll go back and check. I just assumed it was okay, but.
It's,
All these new houses, new places to play football.
I think it definitely meets the criteria.
Yeah,
for
it
SIL.
meets the criteria.
I thought so, yeah. Yeah, in that case, yes, so the proposal that's it's locked now. It's on page 52, I think.
We just need to add the words money to be taken from SIL.
If possible, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
The largest proportion possible to attain.
okay, so we have a proposal which is 5.1. Councillor Clubb, would you like to
Yeah,
propose that?
yeah, with the word.
With the recommendation that if possible, we use still
Yeah,
funding.
exactly.
Councillor Hamilton?
Sorry, did you say 50% or all of it?
All
Much like that.
Okay.
There's-
The reality is, when the SIL money is spent, it's spent, but there is 230 in the pot.
And it's used for it.
Well, if we don't spend the silver money in time, then,
Well, yeah.
and so we can use the
I'm not
the other
frugally
funds.
using it.
It's our leisure. These are time limited, so it is worth doing that. Okay, so all those in favour of that proposal? Okay, thank you. 6B, upper marketplace, up to £1,219 for the hire of a parking space for the car club. Which
Can't we put it lent up?
Is this a line on our accounts because it's our space already, or are we actually hiring space from someone else? Oh, okay, just checking.
We're not letting it to a resident.
Yeah, fine, great, okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, God, we're not actually renting space from someone else. No, that's fine, that's fine. Yeah. All for it. then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the right place for the car club to go, so
We are hoping that the car club will move.
no,
And-
I think that is the best place for it, rather than putting it down on the, lower marketplace. Because on a Thursday, it needs to be clear for the market.
Okay, so we have a proposal that seems to carry very nice support. So the proposer,
Yeah, it's straight outside the town hall, is that?
Yeah. Okay, and the seconder, all those in favour? Okay, thank you.
Fine, everyone is it, isn't it? Hire this car.
Exclusion of public and press, to consider the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960. As publicity will be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business, so moved.
Where is the press at this field good meeting?